I would like to make first some general points.
Donc, d'abord quelques réflexions d'ordre général.
Okay. Based on an overview of the literature, and then I would like to present some first results of a study carried out by Grégoire Bost, Elise Huillery, Nina Guyon, Mélanie Pinheiro, and I on a large sample of French primary schools. We don't have the results on the impact of this intervention yet, but I will present a number of results on the situation before the intervention, and this will provide a rich source of information on the inequalities between families in French primary education. So first of all, let me recall why intervening on parents can be a relevant strategy, a promising strategy. First of all, very simply because parents and children spend a lot of time together. Based on time diary data, we know that children spend on average 40% of their time under the supervision of their parents. Secondly, while children may change their classmates, their teachers, parents are a long-term, permanent, stable influence. Third consideration, most parents have high educational aspirations for their kids and attach a lot of importance to their school success. And we know from several studies that this applies also to socially disadvantaged parents. So these considerations imply that parents can play a crucial role for the school success of their children and that they can be motivated to do that. However, they may not know how to help, what to do to support their kids. And we will see that in some cases, they may even hold beliefs that are detrimental to the learning of their kids. So that is why parenting interventions that provide information and counseling to parents can be particularly important. In other words, we cannot intervene only on what happens in the school. We must intervene also on the family environments because these are too important for the development of their kids. Indeed, parents and parenting interventions can do a lot. In a meta-analysis that I carried out with Montserrat Bottet, we analyzed 109 intervention studies that have been carried out in the last 20 years in Western countries and that focused on parenting interventions. And we could identify three main intervention strategies. First of all, some interventions that aim at fostering the stimulation of kids in the family environment so that they can promote the cognitive language development of the kids. A second type of intervention, and this is about one-third
des capacités cognitives et langagières. Deuxième type d'intervention se concentrait sur les pratiques de discipline des enfants, des parents dans l'environnement familial, c'est-à-dire imposer un certain nombre de règles qui peuvent aider l'enfant à exercer un meilleur contrôle donc sur son impulsivité, par exemple, et son comportement. Et un troisième type d'intervention, l'idée, eh bien, c'est que par une présence à la fois chaleureuse et très réactive, eh bien, les motivations de l'enfant, son bien-être et ses capacités socio-émotionnelles sont soutenues et renforcées.
Let me give you a concrete example
permettez-moi
of a
de
parent
vous donner un
intervention that
exemple
has proved
concret
to be
de
successful.
soutien parental
This
qui
is called
a
Ready
été
for
couronné
K,
de
and
réussite.
it was carried out by Susan Meyer
Cela
and
s'appelle
her
Ready for
colleagues.
K et cela a été mené par des collègues pendant une année scolaire. En fait, la cible était des parents d'enfants qui étaient d'âge préscolaire, donc l'équivalent de l'école maternelle, et qui ont reçu 3 SMS par semaine pendant toute l'année scolaire. D'abord, des messages factuels pour les informer et les motiver. Par exemple, lisez une histoire à votre enfant, lire une histoire à votre enfant le soir peut avoir un impact positif. Un autre type de message, c'était en fait une suggestion d'activité à la maison, par exemple, lire régulièrement avec votre enfant tous les jours peut avoir un impact très positif. Et le troisième type de message avait pour but de renforcer et d'encourager l'action des parents. Donc, nous avons mesuré quel était l'impact de ces interventions grâce à
according to their teachers, and that their kids experience substantial gains in their language skills.
Et cela avait également une incidence sur l'amélioration
first of all, because this is quite interesting example of a novel way to communicate with parents. When we think about talking with parents, we have in mind maybe more easily meeting the parents at school.
Eh bien, on pense souvent à les rencontrer à l'école. Mais on sait que si on organise une réunion parents-professeurs, certains parents ne viendront pas, et ce sont souvent les parents qui auraient le plus besoin de soutien dans leur fonction parentale. Et tous ceux qui ont organisé ce type de réunion, que ce soit dans le primaire ou dans le secondaire, savent que c'est ce qui se produit.
Have a telephone and reading some text messages doesn't demand much time or effort. So it's a more effective strategy to reach parents.
Un téléphone portable
it's very cost effective.
Les toucher, de les atteindre par le
biais de this is an interesting example because it shows how light touch interventions,
parce que cela montre que des interventions
providing in a very short way some key information can modify the behavior of parents, enhance the skills of children and reduce the related social inequalities.
Le comportement des parents auprès de leurs enfants et avoir une incidence sur les capacités socio-émotionnelles des enfants et leur développement.
Of interventions that proved ineffective. This is a particularly well-designed intervention because it tackled the many hurdles to parental involvement experienced by parents. For instance, in particular, socially disadvantaged parents may be less self-confident in their capacity to support their kids. They may experience linguistic barriers. They may experience stressful events that reduce their capacity to invest their time and their mental resources in supporting their kids. So it is very important when designing this intervention to integrate these barriers and to find the right words, the right way to communicate with parents.
Dans ces interventions pour trouver le bon canal de communication avec eux.
Yeah, so this example is, in this example, the core of the intervention was giving some key recommendations that are quite age-specific, such as sing some nursery rhymes to your kids, okay? So we would need to adapt the recommendations very frequently as long as children grow up. But maybe a different strategy is try to use parenting interventions to foster some kind of more general skills that can be relevant throughout the whole career of the students. And that is what has been done in a number of interventions, and that is the ambition also of our intervention. For instance, parenting interventions can try to work to stimulate the study motivation of kids. Very schematically, in our study, we focus on 3 types of motivations. Intrinsic motivations, basically the extent to which kids are interested in school-related topics and enjoy learning.
À ce qui est fait à l'école et
Controlled motivation,
ont du plaisir à apprendre.
The extent to which they think that studying is important, is useful for their future,
ils pensent qu'étudier
regardless of
est
whether they
important
like
pour
it
leur
or not.
avenir, qu'ils aiment étudier ou pas.
Identified motivation, which in our specific case
dans notre cas
refers to items that measure to what extent the kids declare that they want to they study because they don't want to deceive their parents
étudient
or
parce
their
qu'ils ne veulent
teachers.
pas décevoir leurs parents ou leurs enseignants.
Now, in our study, we have measured to what extent these motivations differ according to the family background. Let me give you a quick overview of the study. We target 55 REP and REP Plus primary schools in the academies of Paris and Versailles,
du parcours social
where
et de
we
l'origine sociale.
approach 177 classes of grade 1,
Nous
CP,
sommes rapprochés de
and we could
177 classes de
administer
CP.
teacher questionnaires, parental questionnaires, and student questionnaires
diffuser des
to the
questionnaires à la fois pour les
students, to the
enseignants, les
members of these
parents et
classes.
les élèves.
Okay? The data that I'm going to present now
données que je vais partager avec
refer
vous
to the
maintenant
start
se
of grade 1, the
réfèrent
start of
au
CP,
début du CP.
November.
Donc nous sommes en novembre à peu près.
And we are going to see a number of
nous allons
data
voir un
where we
certain nombre de
explore
données
some characteristics
dans
of
lesquelles nous avons
the kids and the
exploré,
parents
certaines
according to the
caractéristiques
family
des enfants et
background
des
of the
parents
parents.
selon
So basically,
le milieu
the education
social.
of the parents,
Donc,
the occupation of the parents,
vous
and the
voyez
migration
à
background of
gauche
the parents.
selon
For
le niveau
instance,
d'éducation des
high
parents,
education means that
au
at
milieu
least
leur statut
one of the two
socio-économique
parents has a
et,
tertiary degree, medium and upper
droite,
secondary degree,
leur,
low, less
origine
than
de
an upper
naissance.
secondary degree. And for occupation, this is a score
Donc,
that
vous voyez
measures the level
gauche,
of
niveau
income and
d'éducation,
skills
donc
of the
primaire,
occupations of
secondaire
parents,
ou
high, medium,
supérieur.
low.
Au
And then for the
milieu,
migration
ce qui
background,
correspondrait à la
we
CSP,
compare
le statut
families where,
socio-économique des parents.
both parents were born
Et
in France,
droite, si
mixed
les deux
couples, and
parents
families
sont
where
nés en
both
France,
parents were born
ou
abroad.
si l'un des parents
And what you
est
see
né
here
à l'étranger ou les deux.
Is that
Et ce que vous
actually
voyez
there are
ici,
quite
c'est qu'en fait,
relevant gradients when
il y a
we
des
look at the
gradients assez pertinents
green columns,
quand vous
so at the
regardez
control
ce qui est en
motivations,
vert,
the instrumental
c'est-à-dire la
motivations of kids.
contrôlée.
I study
Donc,
because I
j'étudie
think or
parce
I am
que
told that
on
this
me
is
dit
important
que
for my
c'est
future.
important pour
There,
mon
a
avenir.
privileged background plays a
Et
role.
là, vous voyez qu'un milieu
To
privilégié
some
a une
extent,
incidence.
also when it
Dans une
comes
certaine
to
mesure,
identified motivations,
aussi
I study
pour
because I
la
don't want to
motivation
deceive
identifiée.
my
J'étudie parce
parents.
que je ne veux pas décevoir mes parents.
We see much less difference, or actually quite negligible differences,
on voit
with
beaucoup
regard
moins de
to the
différences
intrinsic
pour ce
motivations
qui est
of
de la
the kids.
motivation
I enjoy
intrinsèque des
studying,
enfants.
but again,
J'ai
keep in mind that this is
plaisir
the
à
very
apprendre.
beginning of
Mais
CP.
bon, gardez à
The
l'esprit
point
que c'est
here is
vraiment
that
au tout
children
début de la
start
classe de
primary
CP.
education
Donc,
with different
les
levels
enfants
and types of
commencent,
motivations
donc l'école
that
primaire
correlate with
avec
their family
différents
background.
niveaux de motivation et différents types
Parents
de motivation
matter
que
in
l'on
this
peut corréler
respect.
à leur milieu social.
Second type of parental
Deuxième
influence,
type d'influence
the type of
parentale,
activities,
c'est le
of
type
playful activities that parents
d'activités
and kids
ludiques,
do
par
at
exemple,
home.
que les
Okay?
parents et les enfants
So take a
font,
look at the blue
à la
columns,
maison.
activities at home,
Regardez les colonnes
such as
bleues.
doing a puzzle
Activités
together,
à la
doing
maison,
a board
faire un
games
puzzle,
together,
un
painting
jeu de
together,
société,
etc.
peindre ensemble,
There,
etc.
we do observe
Là, nous
massive
observons
inequalities
des inégalités
relating to the
vraiment,
occupation of parents,
très
the education of
importantes,
parents,
en
and to
fonction
some extent
du
also
niveau
the
d'éducation
migration
des parents,
background
de leur
of
statut
parents.
socio-économique ou
These kind of
de leur
informal
origine
learning
ethnique.
activities are very important because
Ces activités
well, they
sont
promote
extrêmement
the
importantes
skills
parce
of kids, the
qu'elles vont
cognitive
permettre le
skills,
développement
the
des
language
capacités
skills, but also
cognitives, des
because,
capacités langagières de
for instance,
l'enfant,
by doing a
mais
puzzle,
également
kids
parce
learn
que,
to
en faisant un
be
puzzle,
patient, they learn to make a
les
plan
enfants apprennent la
for a given
patience,
task, and we know that
apprennent
this
à
kind of
établir un plan
skills,
pour
social
remplir,
behavioral skills,
pour
matter a
exécuter
lot
une tâche.
also to succeed in school.
Et ces capacités qu'ils vont développer
So we do
leur
see
seront
clear
précieuses pour
social
réussir à
gradients in
l'école.
this dimension,
Donc,
and
nous voyons des
secondly,
gradients
with
sociaux
regard
très
to
nets.
the brown columns
Également pour ce qui
that
est de la
relate to
colonne
participation in school
plutôt
life.
en beige, qui
Privileged
donc la
parents,
participation dans
for
la vie de
instance, attend
l'école.
more often
C'est
teacher-parent
donc les
meetings.
parents qui vont aux réunions parents-professeurs plus fréquemment.
On the
par
contrary,
exemple.
the gradients with regard to the other two dimensions are rather small.
Concernant
For instance,
deux autres dimensions,
different social groups report discussing with their kids about school life, about what they did at school, to a rather similar extent, the green columns. Okay, and also our index of progressive parenting doesn't display much variations by the family background. By progressive parenting, we refer to the extent to which parents explain the home rules to their kids rather than imposing them by means of punitions or
rewards.
We have explored also to what extent what we call the screen management behavior of parents and the homework management of their kids. Well, screen management means to what extent parents set and enforce clear rules regarding the use of screens, video games, television, tablets, etc. Homework management relates to the capacity of kids to start autonomously doing the homework, doing it alone most of the time, and remaining focused and concentrated. These are the items in this index. Okay? And as we can see, there are significant gradients, although not very large, for these two indexes that go really hand in hand, suggesting a significant relation between the family background, the kind of disciplinary practices at home, and the kind of self-control and conscientiousness of kids when doing the homework.
Des enfants à se concentrer et à se contrôler.
A next type of attitude that we explore relates to the way parents and kids interpret successes and failures at school. Okay, suppose a kid has a bad grade in math, he or she may react saying, well, I'm not gifted for math. And the parents may confirm or question, challenge this kind of reaction. This reaction is a good example of what we call a fixed mindset. So the idea that our skills cannot be changed, that they are static, fixed traits. We can easily understand that if children and parents have this kind of belief, when facing learning challenges, they will be less motivated to display effort, basically because they believe that effort is not particularly important, that what matters is talent. On the contrary, parents and kids may endorse a growth mindset, that is to say, they may believe that our skills can be improved with effort and dedication. And this will affect their behavior in the opposite direction. What we see here, the blue columns, is that the social position of the parents, their level of education, occupation, and to some extent their migration background correlate strongly with the growth mindset. So more privileged parents more often endorse this kind of growth mindset beliefs. And the last result that I would like to present to introduce the intervention is relates to the children's metacognition. As it was evaluated by the teachers using a scale devised by Whitebright. So for each student in their class, the teacher responded to 9 items that constitute this metacognition score. What is metacognition? It's essentially the capacity of children, of learners in general, to reflect about their learning processes, to make a plan, to track how they are doing, and to adjust their learning strategies accordingly. And we can easily appreciate that this kind of capacity is essential throughout the whole career of students. What you see here is that there are huge social gradients relating to the metacognitive skills of the kids, according in particular to the level of education and occupation of the parents. So the idea is that parents that are more schooled, that are more educated, and that have more skilled occupations may develop more easily and train more easily these kind of skills. and may more easily transmit these skills to their children. For instance, when talking about why the math test, how to prepare the course on math, what kind of strategy you can use, for instance, when doing a puzzle together. To conclude, I would like to quickly present the contents of the intervention that really build on some of the ideas, the concepts that are introduced here. We are currently evaluating this intervention using a randomized control trial. So we administered, as I told you, the questionnaires to the parents, the teachers, and the children before the intervention. Then we assigned half of the classes in our schools to the intervention and half are a comparison group. And then we have re-administered the same questionnaires after the intervention, and we will be able to collect all this data also to the data of the évaluation nationale in French and math. So quickly, the contents of the intervention. The intervention is called 1, 2, 3 CP and consists of 16 videos intended for the parents of students. So when they signed into the project, these parents had to sign in a parental consent form where they gave us their phone numbers. And then we used their phone numbers to send to these parents some text messages, 3 per week, where we present the content of the video of the week. We try to motivate them to engage in this, to watch the videos, and we provide a link to open the video. The structure of the videos is the same all the time. So we present to the parents a skill, a competence of their kids that is beneficial for the school success of their kids. Then we explain to the parents that they can impact these skills, this capacity or these attitudes. And finally, we provide some concrete suggestions, tips on how they can improve this capacity in their daily interactions with their kids. The intervention has a strong focus on the accessibility of these contents for the parents. The videos are short, they use a simple language and are available in several languages for foreign-speaking parents. We stress that all parents can play a role regardless of their school experiences or their familiarity with French. The tips and suggestions are not very time-demanding, and we stress a lot that parents are not supposed to replace the teachers or to do teaching at home. We rather focus on 3 types of suggestions, the kind of joint playful activities such as doing a puzzle or a board games and how they impact their children's skills, the family routines, how going to the supermarket together can be a way to develop some skills in your children, and the kind of general attitudes that matter for school success. For instance, the growth mindset attitudes that I described so far.
Ce qui nous renvoie à l'état d'esprit positif que j'exprimais avant sur le fait
so that gives you the content, the 3 main blocks of contents of our intervention. First of all, we have a number of videos on the study motivations and of the children and how parents in their daily routines and interactions with their kids can foster, in particular, intrinsic motivations. We have a second block of videos on self-control, how parents can set rules and discuss and present and explain these rules to their children in a way to promote their self-control skills, to help them to control their impulsivity. This is also a very powerful determinant of school success. And a third block is about metacognition, how parents, through puzzles, to the way they talk about successes and failures in schools, can foster the metacognitive skills of their kids. The underlying idea is the idea of self-regulated learning. So the idea that parents can help their kids to become motivated learners, autonomous learners, and well-organized learners. And we will see to what extent we succeeded in this effort.
Et nous verrons quel a été le degré de réussite dans cet effort.